Hey guys, I want to welcome you back to another episode of Pistons Talk Podcast presented by FanDuel. I do apologize for the people that are on YouTube waiting for me to start this live stream. I have no idea what mind frame I was in. This was a 10 o'clock game. I thought the game was going to be over at 12:45. As we're recording this podcast right now, it is 1:34 a.m. on the 31st of January. I guess 10 o'clock games take 3 hours, not 2.5 hours. But I appreciate you guys that are staying up late. The people that are watching live on YouTube right now, appreciate you guys for tapping on in all season long. This was the final game of the Detroit Pistons mini 3-game West Coast trip. They had the Golden State Warriors tonight, which I think was going to be a game that a lot of us were going to be paying attention to after the game that they had in Phoenix. Second night of a back to back. Didn't really know what to expect. And to start this first quarter, it was back to back fouls with Cade Cunningham and Jalen Duren. Then they give up a transition three. JB Bickerstaff takes a timeout. And after that timeout, the Detroit Pistons just played with way more energy. They were disruptive defensively. Duncan Robinson had a much needed bounce back game. He had 4 3-pointers in the first quarter. Tobias Harris kind of got into foul trouble late in the way through the first quarter, but Cade Cunningham's playmaking was just excellent. He was just setting his teammates up. He just had the ball on a string tonight. The transition game was really active, and they were capitalizing on those chances. They were forcing Golden State over, and they dropped, get this, you guys, 45 points in the first quarter. Sometimes it's a halftime score. It's a season high by the Pistons. They dropped 45. Golden State had 37. So much better effort, much better energy, especially after that Phoenix game. Second night of a back-to-back, mind you. Going into the second, the bench unit was much better. That was a thing where we talked about it last post-game show where they just weren't really themselves. Very often we see this bench unit contribute scoring. I believe they had 40 bench points tonight versus I think 19 the game before against Phoenix. JB did leave them in to the halfway mark of the second quarter. They didn't come out until the 6-minute mark, which was kind of cool to see. Cade getting arrested and really have to play too much of the second quarter, but they were forcing turnovers and running the floor really hard, capitalizing on that. And they had 21 assists to end halftime. It was 77-64. So the Pistons this time were the team dropping almost 80 points in the second half. Last game was Phoenix doing that. So Pistons definitely wanted to be more aggressive. And Isaiah Stewart said that to Natalie Kerwin when they were doing their little post game or halftime interview, saying, that Phoenix game left a bad taste in our mouth and we wanted to get this one back. And they looked like a team that was really aggressive. I will say the third quarter, there was some slippage. And where I saw some slippage is where Golden State uh, got on a little run because the Pistons were up 20 in the third quarter at one point. They go on a little run. They get this down to 10. And it just kind of reminded me of the Nuggets game we had where Golden State was just kind of within reach. They were around like a 12 to 13 points. And they really just kind of wouldn't go away. Pistons did do a better job of just kind of keeping them at bay, keeping this 13-point lead to end the third was 108-95. Steph Curry apparently hurt himself in the third quarter. He did not return with some knee soreness. Hope he's okay. I mean, even as a Piston fan, I still enjoy watching Steph Curry. Don't know what happened, but he didn't play in the fourth. Golden State went on a run. They went on a little 13-2 run, got within 5, and I started to think, I was like, just close it out. I don't really care if you win by 20 or 2. Just need you guys to, bounce back and get in the win column, and that's what they did. They kept Golden State at bay. Um, when they needed to hit shots, they did. When they needed to get to the free throw line and made their free throws, they did. They do close it out 131 to 124. They end their West Coast trip 2-1. Obviously, would have loved to see a 3-0 West Coast trip, but hey, man, you'll take it. You'll take it. 35th win of the season for the Pistons. They do have one more game this week. They will be playing on Sunday against the Brooklyn Nets. It's actually Isaiah Stewart bobblehead night. If you guys go out, you get a Isaiah Stewart bobblehead on a tractor. If you guys haven't seen it, definitely go over to our socials. We had posted it. It's actually a really cool bobblehead, but they play the Brooklyn Nets on Sunday, so that should be an interesting game. Wonder if Michael Porter Jr. plays because they did beat the Utah Jazz tonight. I know the Nets are trying to stay within that top 4 in this 2026 NBA draft, but it'll be interesting to see if Michael Porter Jr. does play because I feel like that's a player that we talk about a lot on this podcast as we kind of get closer to the February 5th trading deadline. I do want to get into the box score. And then, as always, you guys, we'll open up the show to any comments, questions, overall thoughts with tonight's win over the Brooklyn Nets, or if you guys have a question about this upcoming NBA trade deadline or something you saw tonight, definitely leave it in the comment section down below if you're watching us live on YouTube right now. But let's get into the box score with the Detroit Pistons. Okay, let's make it a little bit more centered. Sometimes when you click it, it just goes crazy. And that's not the box score. That's actually the team stats. You can tell I'm tired. You can really tell I'm tired. There we go. There's the box score. So let's start with the starters. Tobias Harris, 34 minutes, 15 points. Didn't have the best shooting night from the field, only 3 for 10. But when you look at the free throws, made it up there. He was perfect from the free throw line. 9 for 9 from Tobias Harris. Also had 8 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals. Really cashed in on those free throws. Love to see it. Duncan Robinson, like we mentioned at the top of the podcast, in his 30 minutes had 15 points. He was 5 out of 11 from the field, 5 out of 10 from 3, 2 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers. He was a -1 in the plus minus. It was really crucial for him to have a bounce back game and be that floor spacer. Jalen Duren in this one had another strong performance, 21 points, shot 50% from the field where he went 7 out of 14, 7 out of 10 from the free throw line. He had 2 missed free throws really late in the fourth, which I think Steve Kerr tried to do a hack of Duren. Obviously worked because he missed, but still shot 7 out of 10 from the free throw line. Had 13 rebounds, 3 assists, 1 turnover, 1 steal. He was a +9. Duren has just been really aggressive, and I absolutely love to see that. Cade Cunningham in 35 minutes had 29 points. He was 11 out of 19 from the field, 2 out of 4 from 3, 5 out of 6 from the free throw line, 4 rebounds, 11 assists, 3 turnovers, 1 block. He was a +1 in this one. Asar Thompson on his birthday. Happy birthday, Asar. Turns 23 yesterday. Was the 30th, since it's the 31st as we're doing this podcast. But happy birthday, Asar. Had 7 points, 3 out of 10 from the field, 1 for 4 from the free throw line. Had 8 rebounds, 2 assists, 2 turnovers, 6 steals. He has just been an absolute menace, just getting the basketball, stealing the basketball. I believe on this West Coast trip, he had a game where he had 5 steals. It might have been the last game, if I do remember correctly, or it was the Nuggets game. I don't remember off the top of my head, but he's been very active, just playing the passing lane, stripping the ball. But 6 steals, really impressive. He was a +3 in the plus minus. Start with the bench unit. Isaiah Stewart had a really impactful game off the bench in 24 minutes. Had 14 points, 7 out of 10 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, 5 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 huge block shots, 1 on Steph Curry, which a lot of people thought it was a goaltend, but it wasn't. Ryan Holland in 16 minutes had 6 points, 2 out of 5 from the field, 0 for 2 from 3, perfect from the free throw line, 2 out of 2, 4 rebounds, 1 assist, 1 turnover, 1 steal. Is a +3 in the plus minus. Javonte Green in 8 minutes had 3 points. And the 3 points was a 3-point attempt that he hit. 3 rebounds, and it was a +5. Jaden Ivey played more than 7 minutes. It's kind of surprising. 18 minutes tonight for Jaden Ivey. 9 points, 3 out of 7 from the field, 1 for 3 from 3, perfect from the free throw line, 2 out of 2, 4 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 turnover, 1 block. He was a +8. led the bench unit in plus minus tonight. And Danish Jenkins, 17 minutes, excuse me, 12 points, 4 out of 8 from the field, 1 for 2 from three. Perfect from the free throw line where he was 3 out of 3, 2 rebounds, 4 assists, 2 turnovers, 2 steals. He was a +7 in the plus minus. So much better game by the bench unit. I think they absolutely needed that tonight. Um, I mean, last game there was just so many zeros in the points column for this team. It was very uncharacteristically like not a game that we're used to with this bench unit. It's kind of been a strength of this team. Kind of going into the team stats with this one, Pistons shot 48% from the field to Golden State's 44. They shot 38% from three, 10 out of 26. Duncan Robinson was responsible for 5 of those. So it kind of shows you the lack thereof of 3-point shooters that we have. Golden State shot 35%. They attempted 52 threes. They made 18. The Pistons attempted 26 threes. They only made 10, just to kind of show you just the discrepancy of 3-point attempts from Golden State and Detroit. The free throw line, Pistons cashed in on 29 out of 36, shot 81%. Golden State made 74. They were only 26 out of 35. Won the rebound battle 53-42. 15 offensive rebounds for the Detroit Pistons. There were plenty of opportunities for them to get second chance points. Both the Pistons and the Warriors had 31 assists each. Pistons had 13 steals, 3 blocks, 16 turnovers in this one for the Pistons. I felt like a lot of the turnovers were mostly in the third quarter when Golden State tried to surge back in this one. But they did capitalize on the Warriors' turnovers as well. They had 25 fast break points and 62 points in the paint. But overall, I mean, that's just kind of like a Detroit Pistons win. Like, dominate in the paint, take advantage of getting to the free throw line, made 81% of your free throws, made some threes when you needed them. But, overall, really good game by the Pistons. I do see a couple comments and questions with you guys that stayed up late for this post game podcast. I want to get into that. I'm just going to take a quick water break and then we'll open up the show to Q&A, and then we'll have a chill rest of a 2 a.m. podcast after the Pistons did beat the Warriors. We will be right back, you guys. Okay, you guys, we're back. Want to get into the comments and questions for this post game podcast. Let's get into the first question or comment, I should say. The Pistons are now 8-1 in back-to-backs this season. Shout out to Jenkins taking some load off of Cade, bringing the ball up court in the fourth quarter as well by Marcus. I, I agree. It was really good to see Jenkins bring the ball up the court where Cade didn't have to be just the primary ball handler. Cade was able to play off ball more, and I think JB showed trust in Jenkins. He had 12 points tonight. He was great. I thought he had a bounce back game. I felt like the Phoenix game, he just wasn't really comfortable getting to his spots. But Pistons are actually one of the better teams in the NBA. I know the broadcast had said that, you know, they have one of the better point differentials in back to backs. I believe it's like 6.6, and it's up there with the bad boy teams. It's up there with the 05 06 Pistons, but it's good to see that they were up for this game. They knew who they were playing. They knew what they had to do to get this win. Obviously, the third quarter probably gave Golden State a little bit of confidence that they could come back in this game because you were up as much as 20 points and it was only a narrow victory in the fourth quarter. But overall, I mean, you can nitpick at this win, but they just have to do a better job of keeping their foot on the gas and not giving these teams opportunities to get back into it. I also think Golden State did a better job in the third and fourth quarter of limiting the running opportunities for the Pistons. They really try to, force them to operate out of the half court, and we know that's just not a strength of the team right now. They're not a good half court team, but they were able to squeak out a win, and you'll take it. Michigan Made has a comment about Caden Duran. Caden Duran, great as usual, but Asar was moving different in this game. His defense is crazy, 6 steals. Yeah, I mean, Cade and Dern are just starting to become a duo where like they're both dropping 20 plus points. And you love to see that out of your franchise player and a guy in Jalen Duren that is looking to get a payday this summer, which I fully intend the Pistons are going to give Jalen Duren what he's asking for. $35, $40 million a year is probably what it's going to cost to re-sign Jalen Duren this summer. But Sar was great defensively. He's just been on a whole other level, especially in the month of January. I do want to say though, like some of his passes in the first quarter, he had a behind the back pass to Jalen Duren, dumped it off to Duren, and he slammed it. He had some really good reads. I think that's one part of his game that maybe we don't really talk about or appreciate because we're so focused on the defensive prowess with Asar. But he did have some great reads in the first quarter and the second quarter. I thought DJ Billy Bob has a comment, another great win, points off turnovers, and we hit some threes tonight. It's that simple. We have to hit at least some threes unless the other team can't either, then we win one like that too. Yeah, I mean it's crazy, man. You capitalize on the turnovers, run, you play the transition game, you hit your free throws, you hit some threes. I think most of these wins, if the Pistons had like better 3 point shooters on this team, we wouldn't have so many close games, in my personal opinion. But I do think that Trajan will definitely look to, add some 3 point shooters at the deadline. I think that's something that we've talked about all season long, with the trade exception that they do have. But it'll be interesting to see. Wes Weaver question: what can Asar do to average more points? I think if he puts up 15 to 18, we wouldn't need to make a trade. Great question, Wes. I think for Asar right now, it's a project for Fred Vincent. I don't know if you watched his interview with 97 Won the Ticket. They actually have a Pistons podcast called Restore the Floor. And they kind of talked to Fred about Asar and like where he's at in terms of like his development as a shooter. I think for Asar, it's going to take a couple of years for him to get comfortable. I think right now, what we've seen is a progression of being a better free throw shooter. Now, tonight wasn't a good example of that. He was only 1 out of 4. But if you looked over the month of January, he's shooting much better from the free throw line, not his average, which is like below 60%. I think right now what they're focusing on is free throws, mid range, and then eventually kind of stepping him out to the 3 point line. Now, could it take another offseason for him to get more comfortable in the mid range? Possibly. But I think Asar is one of those draft picks that is a patient approach. It might take him a good 2 to 3 off seasons for him to get more comfortable with shooting the basketball. I also would like to see him get a little bit of a tighter handle. Not to say that he doesn't have a good handle. I think it could definitely be better. But I think Fred has his work cut out with him with Asar Thompson and Ron Holland. I mean, I think those are two wings that I think a lot of us love the defensive potential that they have, the defensive just ferocity they have on the perimeter and just being disruptive. But like if they can just be average to above average offensive players, you have two wings that are just going to be two-way forwards. And I think that's what a lot of teams like when they're drafting prospects like that. Like if they can develop any sort of offensive game, then you have a two-way forward. You have like a Jalen Brown. You have like a Jimmy Butler. But it'll be interesting to see what does happen with the SAR. During this offseason, and like we'll definitely be tracking and following what he does in the 26-27 season. But I think offensively, it is frustrating because like you see what he is as a defender. If he can just kind of like match that offensively, you have a two-way forward that could definitely be a guy that can be maybe a third option on this team. Who knows? Mr. J. Langdon's at the game, and now Ivy played 17 minutes. Should have played him more, but better than 7 minutes. What's up with JB? I will say Trajan Langdon does travel with the team a lot, Mr. J. He's almost at every Detroit Pistons game, home and on the road, and that's very common for a general manager to travel with the team. I think the reason why Ivy got 17 minutes tonight versus 7 is he was making his shots, he was playing better defense and rebounding the basketball. I think the Suns game, he just wasn't really as consistent as he was tonight. And I think JB's been very consistent with his message of about playing time. And if you want to play for him, you got to play on both sides of the floor. You can't take plays off. And I think Jaden Ivey at times has been inconsistent with his rebounding. He's been inconsistent with his shot when it's not falling. So JB is just trying to juggle that shooting guard rotation, that backup shooting guard rotation. He's played Danish Jenkins in kind of like both point guard and shooting guard roles. He's also kind of experimented with Marcus Sasser at times, but even Ron Holland. So I think it's just a thing where if Jaden Ivey has games where he's playing good defense, he's making shots, he'll get more playing time. But if he's not, he's probably only going to get around like 7 to 12 minutes a night. Richard, the Pistons did their job win-wise, 2 out of 3. Now, 4 straight at home coming up. Yeah, you got a homestand, which you only play 3 times next week. You do have a back-to-back. I think it's Washington and the Knicks. You get to see the Knicks Friday. That'll actually be a Amazon Prime game. So they'll have the Amazon Prime guys out there. That'll be a really good game. Last time the Pistons played the Knicks, that was just electric. And it was kind of a belt to ass game. The Knicks are playing better as of late, but it'll be interesting to see how they do next week in their games. I'm excited, man. Anytime we get to play the Knicks, it's always like must see TV. I think a lot of people are going to be going out to that game. I think a lot of people are going to be locked into that game because that was a team that they played in the playoffs last year, and obviously the Knicks did send the Pistons home. But it'll be interesting to see how they handle business against the Knicks on the second night of the back-to-back. Buy-in. Will Draymond fit this group? Yeah, I mean, Draymond is a veteran. He's a guy that I think does fit any basketball team. I know Draymond has always spoken very highly of the Detroit Pistons. That's his hometown team. I think he fits, but like his contract's a little pricey. I think if once his contract does expire and if he wants to just kind of take a little bit less to, come back home, like maybe the Warriors run is kind of over and he just wants to move on and play where he's from, sure. Like I wouldn't be opposed to a Draymond Green on the Pistons in a reserved role, but I mean, this really depends what he wants to do. I don't like Draymond Green at his current contract and his price. Absolutely not. But like if you kind of wants to have like that veterans minimum, come to the Pistons and play for him, I wouldn't be opposed to that. Detroit Red, can the Pistons pair the trade exception with the player in a trade? They cannot. They cannot. They can only use the trade exception to get players that are under that 14 million contract. They can't, like, for example, they can't take a 14 million trade exception and Jaden Ivey to try to get to 20 plus million. You can't do that with trade exceptions. What they can do is they can use that 14 million that they got in the Dennis Schroeder sign and trade and absorb that salary without sending a player out. Now, I think what they'll do, and I'm going to talk about this tomorrow on our Saturday's podcast about the trade exception, is they're going to be on the phone by their phone, seeing what's out there in terms of this team is trying to facilitate a trade. We have a trade exception. We can help you out. We like, player A. Like send us player A. We can use our trade exception without, sending any significant assets. And we can upgrade maybe our three-point shooting, maybe more playmaking, maybe more size in the front court. I think Trajan and the Pistons will be very opportunistic with their trade exception, but you cannot pair a trade exception plus a player to try to get the $20-30 million. Just can't do it. Get to a couple more comments and questions. What's up with the Stars dribbling during his slashes at the basket? I've noticed that a little bit. I don't know if it's just like a nervous tick or a habit. Because it's been a couple of games where when he is slashing, his dribbling is kind of like clunky. Maybe he can fix that a little bit. Sounds like I'm giving up on Ivy. No, I'm not giving up on Ivy. Just being consistent with like what the message is, Mr. J. If Ivy plays well, he will get playing time. If he doesn't play well, he's not going to get playing time. It's simple as that. It's not me giving up on Ivy or hating on Ivy. Like the Phoenix game, he didn't score. So JB was looking for players that could score. Obviously, Danish Jenkins and others struggled. Would have loved to see Chaz Lanier get some clock. Would have loved to see Marcus Sasser get some clock. But hey, it is what it is. Like if Ivy plays well, I will, praise him. I will talk about what I liked about what he did. If he doesn't play well, I'll talk about what I didn't like what he did. It's not me playing favoritism. I try to be unbiased and call it down the middle as much as possible. Also understand like he's coming off a broken leg. He's coming off, right knee surgery, cleanup surgery, arthroscopic surgery. Like I don't really expect him to be 100% this year. I have very low expectations for him. Just considering like it's probably going to take him all this season just to kind of get back into the flow of things, and that's okay. If he gets dealt this deadline, wouldn't really surprise me. If he's still on the roster after this deadline, um, I'm okay with it. I'm okay with it because I think he's a type of player that like if he can get back to his old form, which was like 17 points a game on 40% shooting and pretty good volume, you have a guy that can either be in your starting lineup or can kind of, play within that six-man role. I like seeing Sass or Danis out there more than Ivy on the court. Is that not correct? I mean, I think it's really a preference, Anthony. My one thing with Danis is like if Danis is going to be playing with Jaden Ivey or Marcus Sasser, I would rather Danis just be the point guard. I don't like to see Sasser play point guard. Ivy's capable of it, but I think he's better when he plays off ball. If you are going to be playing Marcus Sasser, you have to play him as a two guard next to Danis as a point guard. And same with Ivy. Same with Ivy. Trutella, JB has practiced that with all the players. JB gives Jaden Ivey the shortest rope on the team. I mean, I don't think like your analysis of like kind of like the rotations as it does relate to um Jaden Ivey is wrong. I think like when we hear JB talk about rotations, like he always talks about like I want to give everyone a fair shot. It does kind of seem like if Jaden Ivey makes a mistake, you don't really see him in the second half recently. I think he's a player that he does need to kind of play through his mistakes, but I think it's a little bit different when you're trying to win basketball games and you're trying to, stay competitive. And I know like the message just isn't consistent. I agree with you, but I definitely think that it'll be a situation where, if he does play well, he'll get more playing time. Simple as that. What do you think Ivy would get this offseason if we kept him? If you're talking about like a contract, that's a great question. I'm not entirely sure. Um, I think it just really depends what his camp wants. I think the way he's played in the limited minutes that he has gotten, I don't think he's going to get upwards of like what his team wanted. I think he's not getting no $20 million a year based off of what he's playing. I think right now a ballpark figure for Ivy is probably around like the you know 13 to like $16 million range. I don't really know if his camp would be too thrilled or excited with that. But it'll be interesting to see. It will. I think he's a player that is explosive. He can score at all three levels. Love his speed, love his burst. It just isn't really there right now, and that's okay. Like I don't really expect it to be there, but it'll be interesting to see. He needs to take the qualifying offer. Yeah, he could do that too, Mr. J. He really could. He could take the qualifying offer from the Pistons this offseason, but I don't know. I really don't know what his future holds. I'm not going to sit up here and guess like I know what his future's going to hold. I don't. He could be a player that could stay for the next 3 to 4 years. I really don't know. He could be a player that is involved in any types of trade scenarios over the next week as we get closer to this February 5th deadline. He could be a player that could be moved this summer. I don't know. I really don't know. I think that's what makes this Pistons team so interesting is they have a lot of younger guys that are going to need to be paid, especially when it relates to Jalen Duren. Same with Asar Thompson, who is extension eligible next summer. So the Pistons do have a lot of financial commitments to keep this core together. It just depends who's going to stay and who's going to go. But I'm probably going to wrap up this podcast. Appreciate all you guys watching at 2 a.m. The Ivy questions were fun. I always enjoy these Q&As with you guys. But we'll see you again tomorrow for our Saturday's podcast. And then we'll be doing another post-game podcast with the Brooklyn Nets game. Thank God that it's at a decent time. It's not at 10 o'clock at night. I think it's at 6. So post-game podcast for that should probably be like around like 8 or 9 o'clock. But appreciate you guys staying up late. Hope you guys have a great weekend. You're staying warm, staying safe. And as always, go Pistons. Peace.